Always such a dark question, but one that offers an interesting perspective on the series as a whole. You see, Naruto's entire series in some way, at least until Boruto, and then one could argue that Boruto is as well, is built upon Sasuke and his relationship with the main cast, and how him staying or leaving is a nexus point for change. But what happens if he doesn't stay or go at all? What if he simply didn't exist at all? That's the question I'd like to pose today, and the answer I'd like to seek. What if our boy Sasuke Uchiha was never born? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. To truly understand the question, we must begin at the very beginning. And the beginning isn't the first episode, per se. Well, technically it is, but also it's not. It goes a little earlier and a little later, more around the time of the Nine-Tails attack on Konoha. After giving birth to Itachi, the demands of being a shinobi made it hard to also be a mother. And so Makoto, deciding she didn't wish to give up her career, agreed with Fugaku that all they needed at the moment was Itachi, and that they could decide if they wanted another later. And so Itachi was born to Fugaku and Makoto Uchiha, and began to become the pride of their lives. The more he grew, the more potential he displayed. It was toward the tail end of the Third Shinobi World War when Itachi was born, and Fugaku needed to teach his son a valuable lesson. "Come with me, Itachi," Fugaku said. "Where are we going?" the young boy asked. The answer to that was not yet spoken, but would soon become apparent. Taken to the scene of a battle that had long since reached its conclusion, the bodies of friend and foe alike lay strewn across the field, being collected to be buried, burned, or otherwise disposed of. Only headbands and other valuables were taken from the bodies to be sent back to the warrior's origin, along with a story of valor that somehow people thought might make the family feel better. As Itachi's eyes met with these bodies, the faces twisted in pain and terror as if asleep, yet giving off an eerie feeling of inanimacy like a common object. It was creepy to see something that should move and possess life reduced to lifelessness. Itachi had seen death before. He had hunted with his father. He saw animals die before him, and he had killed them as well, watching the light drain from their eyes. That had messed him up for a while, but it too was a lesson Fugaku needed to teach his son. And now this lesson was important for him to learn. "Why did you bring me here?" Itachi asked, looking upon the dead bodies. "I brought you here because you need to know what life is. What the life of a shinobi is." As Itachi stood there, he attempted to hide his face in his father's pant leg, but Fugaku gently nudged Itachi's head to view the scene more, and Itachi, being an obedient child, did as his father's hand bade. Looking at it again, Itachi felt the pain welling up inside. The urge to cry was present, and even as he fought against it, the tears began to well up in his eyes, his emotions unbridled and refusing to be controlled. Trying to lower his head so that his father would not see his shame, he heard the voice of Fugaku from above. "I cried too when I first saw it. It's okay to cry." Itachi began to shake as tears rolled down his face, though he did well to control himself further as to not make a scene. His voice shaking, he tried to feign composure. "Why does this have to happen?" he asked. "Because this is life in an imperfect world," Fugaku replied. "These men and women, regardless of their village, are here to serve their country, their village. They come into contact with other countries and villages, and even if peace is attempted, it does not last. People will disagree on the most fundamental things, and when those things are something you're willing to fight, kill, and die for, war is the only answer." Itachi shook his head. "It shouldn't be this way." Fugaku nodded in agreement with his son's observation. "You're right. It shouldn't, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. As I said, there comes a time when disagreements can no longer be solved by simply talking. When a hill someone is willing to die on is challenged, the only thing to expect is that they will die on that hill. And when two wills collide and won't break or bend, the fight that ensues is the attempt to defend and push your own will upon another. Only one person can have what they want. Only the cost remains." "I don't like this. Is this what it means to be a shinobi?" Itachi asked. "It is," Fugaku said quietly. At this moment, Itachi was at a crossroad. Fugaku knew it to be true. His son right now was getting the chance to make a well-informed decision. Would he become a shinobi, or would he choose another path in life? Fugaku would hope for Itachi to become a shinobi, as there was hardly a greater honor for a father. But at the same time, Itachi was his own person, and what he wanted out of life was the very thing Fugaku would fight and die to provide for him. Fugaku looked down at his son with compassion. "What is it that you wish, Itachi? I show you this so you won't be surprised. A shinobi faces this every day, but the reason they fight is to ensure that nobody else has to. We fight for peace and for justice, and sometimes we do very bad things and dirty our hands to ensure that the ideals we believe in are maintained. This is the cost of being a shinobi. What are you willing to do? What do you want to do?" Itachi planted his face once more into his father's pant leg, having used up the last of his strength. Fugaku, in mercy, lifted his son up into his arms and let him hide in his neck. Just as he had when Itachi was a baby, Fugaku swayed back and forth, slowly and gently, rubbing his son's back. Itachi spoke, but his voice was muffled. "What was that?" Fugaku asked. "Have you ever killed anyone?" Fugaku stopped moving for a moment to contemplate how to answer that question. "I have," he said simply, opting for pure honesty. "Does that bother you?" Itachi was silent for a moment. "My dad is a hero. I want to be like my dad." And that was the determination of a child who had very early on been shown the truth of how the world worked. Fugaku's actions, debate them if you must, showed the truth that all he did for his son he did out of kindness and love, to prepare his child to meet the harsh world that lay before them. And Itachi took that truth into himself and held it there. It was after this day that Itachi began to attend the Konoha Academy in hopes of becoming a prospective shinobi. But soon, the pains of war, of death, and the meaning of self-sacrifice would find him and force him to become acquainted with what was expected of him. As the cold night wind blew, the Hokage was destined to lose his life. It was an explosion of smoke and the shaking of a loud roar that woke him at night. Stepping out the door, he couldn't see anything, but he heard it. A roaring and the sound of screams in the distance. Explosions and battle cries. He heard the floorboards squeaking behind him as voices began to quickly speak. His mother and father heard it too and were trying to get into their shinobi gear. A moment later, he looked back and saw them coming towards him. Stepping out into the night, Fugaku jumped onto the roof to get a better view of the land before him. "What is it?" Makoto asked. "It's the Nine Tails," Fugaku said. Makoto then knelt down and spoke. "We need to go, Itachi. Remember the drill that your father showed you. Round up the other kids in the compound and the elderly and take them to the shelter. We'll come back and get you when the battle's over." "Please, come back," Itachi begged, the fear in his eyes present. The fear of being orphaned was a real possibility now. Makoto hugged him and kissed his forehead. "Come on, Makoto, we need to go." "I promise we'll come back, sweetie, but we all have a job to do, so focus on that and trust that we'll be back, okay?" "Okay," Itachi said with a nod of affirmation. "Good boy," Makoto said as she stood up. "Now go!" She then jumped off with Fugaku to aid in the battle in whatever way she could. Itachi began to round up the other people. All able-bodied warriors had already left, leaving behind only the children, elderly, and the non-combatant Uchiha. Itachi took command, telling everyone to follow him. Grabbing the hand of Izumi, his childhood friend and sweetheart, he ran off to the shelter to hide. The night was long. It felt as though it might never end. The shaking and rumbling of the ground caused fear to spring up among the children who cried. At any moment, a tailed beast bomb could be dropped upon them, ending their lives. As the children cried, the adults that remained tried their best to keep them calm, but the tears and screams of fear echoed across the shelter. As Izumi and Itachi sat together, the sound of fear he heard was too much for his soul. Ever so quietly, with growing intensity, a melody passed through his lips, the words of an old song. "The light rising above the tower, thoughts boil and run high, dragon path to be protected, pierce with shining blade, look at the sky." As he sang, Izumi began to smile as many people began to look their way. She continued the song alongside him. "Sand, wind may rage, proud blossoming, bright sun dance in flowers, and never will it die." The song had caused many to quiet and focus on the music. Many of the adults who knew the song he was singing carried on the sound along with him. hoping to take the terror off the minds of the children. The light flowing in spirals, to the garden where the dragon's claws ends, shadows of the olden days. This became a sort of thing in the shelter that night, the whole group singing songs of hope in the face of the battle above, keeping their spirits up. Izumi looked into the eyes of Itachi as he kept singing with them, new songs to keep the children pleased, and found herself enthralled by him. There was no boy quite like him. The event passed, and though many had died, and many of those children who cried were now parentless, there was still hope left in the lives of those who remained. But as Itachi looked toward his father to guide their people, he only saw and heard contempt in his voice. At first, Itachi didn't understand. What had happened that night to cause his father to become like this? His father hadn't explained anything, nor would he. Not yet. So Itachi focused on his education, but as he went to the academy, many of the kids there continued to pick on him. Not just him either, but all Uchiha children. Itachi was perplexed. It seemed word was spreading that the Uchiha might have been responsible for the Nine-Tails attack and the death of the fourth Hokage. Itachi knew it wasn't true and tried to explain it, but children so often mirror the things that their parents say, and they do so with bias towards them. There was no convincing the children, and so Itachi just bore the weight of their ridicule and continued his studies until eventually he graduated. Upon becoming a genin, he was considered worthy. That's when Fugaku took him aside. "Itachi, surely you've seen it and understand," he said. "Yes. Why is it? Why are we blamed for the Nine-Tails attack?" "The person who was controlling the Nine-Tails was doing so through a Sharingan's power," Fugaku said. Itachi was surprised. "Were we the ones who did it?" Fugaku shook his head. "No, I never authorized such a thing. There's nothing saying it had to be an Uchiha at all. We lost many comrades during the Third Shinobi World War. Many of them had Sharingan. It's just as possible as anything that one of those fallen Uchiha's Sharingan was taken by an enemy and used to pull off this attack," Fugaku said. "Did they not investigate?" Itachi asked. "Are they just throwing around baseless rumors?" Fugaku nodded. "They've investigated, but have found no proof of our involvement. They blame the Sharingan, and because the Sharingan is only awakened in our clan, we are the targets of ridicule. Despite having no proof of us being behind it, we've no less been persecuted, not just by the people of the village, but also by its leadership, who have spitefully moved our clan from close to the center of the village to its outskirts, as far as one can put a clan without kicking them out of the village entirely. As you can tell, our people aren't happy about it." It was true. The Uchiha were truly discontent with this, but Itachi never really knew how discontent they were. The more he trained and the older he grew, the more he became aware that this problem wasn't going to go away. Ever. The people of the clan often held weekly meetings about the current status of Uchiha affairs. But more and more, these meetings became clandestine, and began to stop being about the affairs of certain branches of the clan, but instead about a singular topic: the way the village was treating the clan. The disgruntled nature of the clan was becoming disturbing to Itachi, who saw this small thing slowly boiling under the surface and getting more and more serious. Izumi was with him, believing that this was getting out of control, but no matter what the two of them said, they could not convince the people otherwise. And so they began to be talked about by the Uchiha clan too, who began to believe that Itachi was a traitor to their family. Feeling isolated from both village and family, Itachi tried to focus on his work. But a rift was opening, not just between Itachi and the clan, but between Itachi and his father. The two held different beliefs, and though Fugaku was disappointed in them immensely, he respected Itachi's right to have them. But this did result in the two speaking with each other far less, which was a painful thing for both of them. All of this caught Shisui's eyes, another Uchiha who sympathized with Itachi and Izumi's viewpoints. The two began to talk more together, and a plan began to form about how they might stop the Uchiha clan from rising up against Konoha. A plan that involved the Mangekyo Sharingan. But as their plan was about to enter the executionary stage, a wrench was thrown in that saw Shisui losing his Mangekyo Sharingan. Shisui killed himself that day, and with his death, Itachi awakened his own. But it didn't help. There wasn't an ability in his eyes that could do what Shisui's eyes could, and so their plan was now dead in the water. That was when Itachi was approached by Danzo, who asked him to destroy his clan, telling him he would be spared if he did so. But Itachi couldn't do it. As he went home to think, he knew that if war broke out between Konoha and the Uchiha, it could weaken Konoha to the point that other villages might attack. And this was known by Hiruzen too, who'd been trying and failing to defuse the situation. Everything was coming to a head, and Itachi was at the center of it. He lay in his bed, thinking. He was on the edge. Kill his clan or kill the village. He was conflicted, and he felt as though his future was balanced upon the edge of a knife. He could so easily see himself going in either direction. A simple push was all it would take. But in the end, he made the decision to do nothing. Not to warn the Uchiha, not to kill them either, just to wait for the end. And that ending did not take long to arrive. At night, the battle began. Root agents disguised as Anbu made their way into the compound. Deadly assassins, killing machines, trained from near birth to single-mindedly do one thing and one thing only, kill for Danzo. As Itachi knew what was happening, he joined his father in battle against them, but even his father perished. His mother died too, and as he went to Izumi's home to try and protect her, he found that he was too late. She too had been killed. In a rage, Itachi destroyed all of the Anbu in her house. Looking down at her, he felt his heart collapsing. Everyone he loved, everyone he cared about was dying. And though Itachi could right now go outside and single-handedly rally the Uchiha, storming Konoha and bringing the whole house down, he decided it wasn't worth it. He had lost that which was worth fighting for, and if he were to fight, all he would do was bring about more death and destruction. And so he stepped out into the night. Surrounded by Root, Itachi dropped his weapons. There was no quarter to be given, and because of this, Itachi would be killed. And as the sun began to rise, the Anbu finished their mission, and the Uchiha clan was swept away. A cover story was launched to explain the destruction of the Uchiha clan, and the only people who knew of it were sworn to secrecy by Danzo. Nobody would ever know. I bet that's a real downer, isn't it? I agree, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But let's move our focus now. Let's move it away from the Uchiha and take it to our main character, Naruto. Naruto is the son of the 4th Hokage, though very few people know that, and Naruto is not among the people with that knowledge. The Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, it seems everyone in the village knows that save for Naruto, which I assume was to ensure that Naruto didn't hurt himself or the village with that power. It's true that Kushina always had a hard time controlling the beast, so perhaps that's why they couldn't tell Naruto about it. Regardless, Naruto is the most hated person in Konoha, and he has no idea why. He lives his life as best he can despite the ire, but temptations are hard to fight, and sometimes Naruto decides to pull pranks on the villagers out of spite, or perhaps because he desires attention of any kind as opposed to being ignored. He gets in trouble a lot, and has been trying his best to become a shinobi at the academy, hoping to one day be Hokage so he can really command respect. But he has a hard time studying, because he can't really understand the things the teachers are asking of him, so Naruto simply keeps failing. That is until he's used by Mizuki, who wishes to blame him for the disappearance of the Scroll of Seals, which he plans to sell to Orochimaru to make a quick buck. But what he doesn't realize is that Naruto is far more skilled than he's given credit for. The moment it clicks with him, he manages to master the multi-shadow clone jutsu to a degree that's nearly Gary Stu level, which gives him the ability to create tangible clones of himself. With these clones, he manages to defeat Mizuki and clear his own name, earning him the right to become a genin. But you already know this, don't you? You're looking for something more than just going over the same old. You want to get to the good part. So here's the question that I'm sure you're all going to ask. Who is going to replace Sasuke on Team 7? There's not really many options, are there? Not without completely dismantling another team and leaving it unfinished. But I don't think I'm gonna fill that space with an OC either. That's too cheap. But I do have a plan, so just stick with me. As Naruto and Sakura sit in the classroom waiting for their mentor, Naruto is setting up a trap for their new master, hoping to catch him lacking. Sakura thinks it'll never work, but Naruto isn't so sure. Despite that, Sakura's mind is on other things. A team is supposed to have 3 members, but their team only consists of 2 right now. The previous class in the academy only had enough graduates to get to this point. There was one less than what they needed. There were only 8 genin this time around, counting herself, which was only enough to fill 2 teams. So who would fill in for Team 7? Or was it that Team 7 simply wouldn't have a third member? As she contemplated these things, their new master, Kakashi, peeked his head in through the door, activating the trap Naruto set for him, much to the surprise of Sakura. Kakashi stated that he already knew he was going to hate this, but didn't think he'd be hating it this early. As he walked in, he introduced himself as Kakashi Hatake, and he would be their jonin. Sakura quickly raised her hand to speak. "What is it, Miss Haruno?" he asked. "I can't help but notice we're only a team of 2, she said. The norm for a team is 3. Are we simply going to be an exception, or will there be another member?" Kakashi pointed at her. "Glad you brought that up. We're going to be a team of 3, of course, but it will be slightly unconventional. Lord Hiruzen Sarutobi knew that this team was going to be lacking a final member, and so he set something up. Allow me to introduce you to our 3rd teammate." A young boy walked into the room. Konohamaru Sarutobi, the Hokage's grandson. Naruto gazed at the child with confusion. "Shouldn't he still be potty training? Why is he on a shinobi team?" Konohamaru's finger pointed straight to Naruto. "For your information, I am a highly skilled and intelligent ninja warrior. I rival even my grandfather in strength and will soon replace him, so you better show me the proper respect." Naruto was already getting up out of his seat, ready to teach this whelp a lesson. That was until Kakashi spoke up. "Hey!" The 3 looked to him. "There will be no fighting like this. We are lucky to have Konohamaru with us. Despite still being an academy student, he's being entrusted to us so we may teach him in a way that he can't learn from behind a desk. His position as the Hokage's grandson affords him opportunities other shinobi do not have, and it's our mission to teach him like we would any genin. If, by the end of the period, I decide he's worthy enough of the title of genin, he will join our team. If not, he'll be sent back to the academy for further instruction. So for now, please treat him with kindness and respect." Kakashi would, from that point, take the trio out. It was important that they got to know each other, and the only way to do that was to force them to bond. What that required was a deep understanding of some foundational things that everyone needed to know. That being a proper introduction with names, things they liked, disliked, and dreams for the future. For Sakura, the things she liked was rice omelets and noodles. The last thing Naruto tried desperately to use as common ground to launch their romantic relationship, which she wasn't interested in. In fact, she followed this up by speaking of the things she disliked, among which she listed Naruto as one. This caused Konohamaru to laugh, which drew ire from Naruto. Sakura's dreams were to become a powerful medical nin who could heal anything. All things considered, Naruto's likes, dislikes, and dreams remained the same. But when he mentioned his desire to become Hokage, Konohamaru scoffed. He mentioned that Naruto's dream was a lost cause, and that he himself was to become Hokage. This led to Naruto lifting Konohamaru up by the collar. This surprised Konohamaru. Nobody had ever done this to him before. Before Naruto could strike him, Kakashi grabbed Naruto's hands. "He's the honorable grandson of the Hokage, Naruto. You're not allowed to hit him like that." "This little dweeb thinks he's gonna be the next Hokage just because he's the grandson of the current Hokage? I'm gonna show him that hard work beats how you were born." Konohamaru scoffed. "What makes you think that you could become Hokage? You don't have anything of note in your history. You have no previous training, no track record, no nothing. I've already got you beat out so far, and I'm not even a genin yet. Kakashi-sensei, I'm about to turn this kid into a permanent wall fixture." Kakashi pat Naruto's shoulder to calm him. He turned back to Konohamaru. "Lord Konohamaru, you're a part of this team for a reason, and that's to show you the value of hard work. Even if you are the grandson of the Hokage, I've been instructed to treat you like I would any other student, and that includes discipline. You must show respect, not only to me as your master, but to Naruto as your peer. Do not rile him up. I will not keep stepping between you and him, and if you keep this sort of thing up, eventually, he's gonna cream you. I would suggest letting go of the superiority complex. Out here in the real world, who your grandfather is will serve you no purpose. The only thing it'll do is turn you into a priority target for the enemy, so drop it." Konohamaru crossed his arms and looked away, drawing a roll of Kakashi's only visible eye. "I think we need a team-building exercise." Kakashi would take them to the forest where they would attempt to take bells from him. There were 3 bells, and Kakashi began to explain the meaning of the test. Whoever could get a bell was assured something to eat. Those who failed were gonna have to miss supper and go home hungry. This caused more rivalry to form between Konohamaru and Naruto. Kakashi didn't reveal his expectation that they should work together, instead letting them continue to believe that it was all about doing it themselves. Of course, Naruto and Konohamaru tried to do everything by themselves, which threw the entire team off. Konohamaru had no real ninjutsu, and Naruto was a one-trick pony, possessing only his shadow clone technique. Not a bad technique, but without any variation, it became quite predictable. As Naruto and Konohamaru continued to fight against each other for the spot, Sakura also tried to get the bells, but in doing so, she completely ignored her teammates. And who could blame her? She didn't want to be drawn into their drama. But at the same time, Kakashi was upset because this was one of the most important things to teach his students. So he absolutely floored them. He let them all go home hungry that day, stopping them and telling them the point of the test. This test was designed to teach you to fight for your friends, to work as a team. I was more than willing to take you all out to eat if even one of you had gotten a bell through teamwork, but because you couldn't work together, you all fail. When you go out into a real battle, you need to rely upon one another. If you did the things you did here today in the real world, you would have all been killed, and your name would have gone up on the wall of shinobi who died for the village because recovery of your bodies would likely have been impossible. For the first time, the team actually agreed on something, and that was their shame at how horribly they acted. Eventually, Kakashi would be asked by Hiruzen to undertake a very special mission, and that mission was to escort a man to the Land of Waves and protect him from robbers. I don't know if that's such a good idea, Kakashi said, being honest with the Hokage. Is something the matter? Hiruzen asked. I don't really trust my team. Neither Naruto nor Konohamaru seem to get along that well. If I'm allowed to speak openly, Naruto is quite hard-headed, and Konohamaru is entitled to a fault. He believes that he's good because of the way he was born, and at least Naruto believes your value as a shinobi is determined by hard work, but all the same, Naruto is a hothead. Because of these things, I fear that they're not ready for a mission. Hiruzen nodded in understanding, but spoke. That's why I'm giving you this mission specifically, he said. This isn't a highly dangerous mission. The worst that could happen is you'll be faced with a highwayman or something. These are things you can easily deal with yourself, and any genin should have at least enough skill to take down an untrained adult. That includes Konohamaru. I've seen to it. When he's not busy tripping over himself, he displays a certain level of skill that can handle such a thing. Give it a try, and if something happens that doesn't work out, feel free to just come home. We'll send another genin group, but I think this will be valuable experience for them, and the longer they spend together, the higher the chance that maybe they'll start to get along. Kakashi reluctantly agreed to this mission, and the next day they set out for the Land of Waves with Tazuna in tow. As they went, however, they were suddenly attacked. But the attackers weren't highwaymen as Hiruzen had suggested. Instead, they were assassins. Rogue ninja from Kirigakure. Naruto froze in fear, and Konohamaru panicked, not knowing what to do. These two shinobi meant business and would likely kill Naruto and Konohamaru without a second thought. Kakashi had to step up and deal with it himself, pushing both students out of the way. Catching their chained gauntlets with a kunai, he lifted his Sharingan for a moment to give him a better chance at fighting them. He had 4 helpless people to protect and 2 powerful assassins to fight. He needed all the help he could get. He instructed Sakura to run away with Tazuna, Naruto, and Konohamaru, which she began to do. But as they ran, the demon brothers managed to get past Kakashi. Kakashi only caught them by reaching out and grabbing their chain. The blades on the chain began to cut into Kakashi's hand deeply. He groaned in pain as he ran a kunai through one of the open holes in the links and pinned it to the ground. The demon brothers looked back for a moment as Kakashi jumped over the chain and put a fist into both of their jaws, laying them out. As Kakashi stood there over the bodies, he rummaged through their things until he found a vial. Naruto, Sakura, Konohamaru, and Tazuna approached again. Kakashi drank the vial and tossed it away. He was sure their chain had poison on it, and he needed to deal with it quickly before it paralyzed him. "Are you okay, Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura asked. Kakashi nodded. "Yeah, I think I'm fine. Just need to wait for the antidote to kick in." Sakura took Kakashi's hand and removed the glove to see how deep the cut was. "This is gonna need stitches," she said. They didn't have the tools for that right now, so she disinfected the wound and added a styptic to stop the bleeding. She then applied gauze and began to wrap it in a bandage. As she did so, Kakashi spoke. "You lied to us," he said to Tazuna. The old man knew Kakashi was right and could not defend himself. He threw himself at Kakashi's mercy. "You must understand, I have a price on my head. I couldn't afford a more skilled team, so I hired what I could afford." "I'm sorry to hear about that," Kakashi responded, "but you put not only mine, but the lives of these 3 students at risk. This is a very serious crime." "Please, sir," Tazuna said, clasping his hands together to beg. "I just want to go home and free my people from the tyranny of a mafioso. They want me dead because they know I can destroy their business and plan to." "That's too bad. You should have told us from the beginning. We could have helped you work something out." "But you don't understand. I don't have time to wait. If I don't go and do this, the village will be irreparably harmed." Kakashi truly felt bad for this man and really wished he could help him, but looking back at the shinobi he defeated, knowing there was a chance he could face more than that only, he looked to his team before speaking. "I'm sorry, but I can't expose my team to that level of danger," he said. "They're not ready for such a thing. I don't want them to get hurt. We're turning back." "Come on, Kakashi-sensei. We can help him," Naruto said. "Yeah, how hard would it be for us to escort him home? Chances are these are the only assassins that mafia guy hired," Konohamaru said. "You can't be so sure of that," Kakashi said. "We can't risk it. We're turning back. No ifs, ands, or buts." And so they decided to return. Sadly, this wasn't what Kakashi wanted. If he were by himself, he probably would have agreed to help the man further, but he wasn't. And because he couldn't trust his team, he made the fateful decision to abort the mission. Returning to Konoha, he and Tazuna informed the Hokage of what had happened. Hiruzen was not very pleased with this, but Tazuna pleaded his case to the Hokage, explaining why he lied and how desperate he was. Hiruzen took pity on the man and decided to not have him jailed for lying, but all the same, he could not give him an escort. And so Tazuna left on his own, carried only by the hope that he might not be attacked again. But sadly, unsurprisingly, Gato's mercenaries were lying in wait for him, and Tazuna was killed. The bridge was never finished, and to this day, the Land of Waves is still under the control of Gato. Kakashi was saddened to hear about this, but he had no other choice. He had to decide between the mission and his team. This was a lesson he learned long ago, and back then, he chose the mission, and one of his friends died. He couldn't make that same mistake again. Not when the 4th Hokage's son and the grandson of the 3rd Hokage were on his team. He was carrying the future of Konoha right now, and they simply were not ready for such a dangerous mission. Despite how bad he felt about Tazuna's death, he knew that if he had taken his team with Tazuna, there was a high chance that both Naruto and Konohamaru would have been killed, and that wasn't something Kakashi was willing to do. He didn't have the right to make that sort of decision, but he had so very little time to think about it. The Chunin exams were coming to Konoha, and Kakashi was required to help with guard detail. That was something he felt he could trust his team with. So they began to work on keeping Konoha secure as more and more genin from across the world began to flood into the village. As the event started, Konohamaru and Naruto took to watching them with great interest, one of the first things in a while they could agree on, and it inspired them to train harder until they could take these tests for themselves. Konohamaru intended to ask Ebisu, his old mentor, to give him more intense training while he waited, but as he was preparing to do so, he and Naruto discovered a very perverted man spying on the women's bath. Confronting him, they discovered this man to be Jiraiya. Konohamaru would raise a finger in recognition. "Hey, you're that guy my grandfather keeps talking about. You're that Sanin guy." Jiraiya was confused for a moment. "Grandfather?" He squinted and realized who Konohamaru was, and when he recognized Naruto as well, he felt as though he were taking a trip down a very nostalgic road. Reminded of his old mentor and of his old student, Jiraiya couldn't help but think about the good times, but when he was asked by them to train them, he had to refuse. He wasn't there to train children, but to work, and his work was in tracking the Akatsuki and Orochimaru's whereabouts. But after being begged enough by the two, he decided that maybe it was okay for him to take a little time off to train them. During this time, Jiraiya revealed the truth about what Naruto was to him, explaining the nine-tailed demon fox existing inside of him. At first, Naruto was shocked. He didn't take it very well, finally understanding the reason why people hated him so much. But Jiraiya tried to raise his spirits by reminding him that it wasn't about how others treated him, but that he was doing the village a service by holding this thing back. To sweeten the pot a bit, he explained that he was in a very good position with this, knowing that he could use it to grow stronger. Naruto admitted this and began to train to learn to use this power. After hearing the truth about Naruto and what he was going through, Konohamaru attempted to help. Konohamaru attempted to help him, make him feel better at least. "I'm sorry about what you've been experiencing," he said, but Naruto wasn't in the mood for it. "Don't pretend to care or understand. Nobody does, least of all a spoiled little brat like you." Those were fighting words. His face twisted in anger, spoke. "How dare you? You don't know anything about my life. You think my life is a cakewalk? I'm always having to deal with the fact that I'm the Hokage's grandson. Do you know how much pressure that is? I can't ever be my own person. I'm only seen as someone else's legacy and expected to act in a way that reflects that. Oh, boo-hoo, Naruto shouted in his face. Poor baby, always living in Grandpa's shadow. At least you have a grandpa. At least you have someone there to praise you when you accomplish the hard things in life. I've got none of that. You'll never understand what it's like to be me, to lose everything. You don't understand anything. And I hate when people try to act like they do, especially when they don't. This rift opened up, and from that day on, Konohamaru didn't train with Naruto and Jiraiya. They hardly talked at all for the next month. By the end of it, Naruto had managed to control his version 1 Jinchuriki cloak, and had learned summoning jutsu and the Rasengan. He was rounding out as a shinobi. All the while, Konohamaru went back to training with Ebisu, avoiding Team 7 as a whole. I'm worried Konohamaru isn't going to come back, Sakura said. God willing, Naruto said with a chuckle. How can you say that? Sakura asked. That squirt's been nothing but a pain in my butt since he got here. I can't handle him anymore. I hope he does leave. I'm tired of dealing with his crap. This statement upset Sakura quite a bit, but she let it slide. It wasn't worth arguing with Naruto about. Then the Chunin exams continued. During the course of this, when Gaara was supposed to fight against Neji Hyuga in the finals, he would release Shukaku in the middle of the arena and begin to attack Konoha with it. Hiruzen would be attacked by Orochimaru and his Sound 4, and during the battle, Jiraiya and Naruto would team up to fight not only against Shukaku, but also against the snake summons that Orochimaru had brought. Together, the two of them managed to defeat Gaara and the snake summons with the help of Gamabunta and the various other Toad sages of Mount Myoboku. Due to Naruto also being a Jinchuriki, he could connect with Gaara, and explained that he knew what it was like to be hated because of what he was, but that didn't give Gaara the right to do the things he was doing. Naruto would protect his village, and he would protect his friends no matter what, even if it meant killing Gaara. At first, Gaara couldn't understand, but it slowly became clear to him as he fled with his brother and sister what Naruto was, how he was living his life. This would leave a lasting impact on Gaara. As the battle came to a close, Konoha had survived and was victorious, but there was a cost. Hiruzen had been killed, and the village was left without its Hokage. The funeral was a mandatory attendance for any shinobi, and Naruto, wearing all black, appeared just as bidden. While there, he saw Konohamaru, Hiruzen's picture set up on a pedestal. Each one of them passed by this table, and each one laid a flower to honor him, each remembering a memory they had. Konoha reached the pedestal and laid a flower as well, his hand shaking. It was a shinobi rule that one should never show their true emotions. No matter how much pain you feel inside, you're not allowed to show your tears. It was a good thing it was raining that day, because there was no logical way Konohamaru could stand there without shedding a tear over the man who raised him. As the ceremony came to a close, the sun began to shine again, but Konohamaru was nowhere to be found among the groups that had come to mourn the Hokage. Naruto began to look for him and found him on a distant rooftop. Naruto began to approach. He sat down beside Konohamaru, and for a moment he didn't speak at all. Eventually, he gathered enough courage to break the silence. Konohamaru, I'm sorry. Why? It's not like you could have done anything, the boy said. Naruto shook his head. No, not about that. Well, actually, yeah. I'm sorry about that too. But what I mean is how I treated you when you were training with Jiraiya. I acted like you never had any issues and could never understand. And it's obvious to me now that you do, and I didn't want that. I was just frustrated with my position, sad at knowing I was cursed to be a hated demon all my life, and afraid that my future was taken from me at birth because of something I neither wanted nor could control. And I took it out on you, and for that, I'm sorry, Naruto said. Konohamaru shook his head. It's long past. I don't care anymore, he said. Naruto put his arm around Konohamaru's shoulders. The young boy looked down, tears still flowing. I'm trying so hard not to show my tears, he said. How do they train themselves not to cry, he asked. I don't know. I don't think someone should train themselves not to cry. Everybody cries at some point. It's nothing to be ashamed of. The Shinobi Handbook can shove it, Naruto said. Konohamaru looked up to see tears running down Naruto's cheeks, too. Hiruzen was the only adult in my life. The only one besides Iruka and Kakashi who ever cared whether I lived or died. He came to me and brought me allowance to survive, helped me keep the apartment tidy, and sometimes would just spend time with me, telling me stories and laughing with me. To say he was anything less than a grandfather is a lie. So trust me, I understand what you're feeling, he said as he looked down at Konohamaru. The boy began to break down and cry into Naruto's chest, letting it all out. The shinobi world was cruel, and it took from people. It killed and expected sacrifices of blood. So what was the job of a shinobi then? To feed the machine and contribute to the death and destruction? Or was it to defy the current world order and fight for a better tomorrow? There were two paths a shinobi could go down, and everyone was free to make that decision. And as Naruto sat here, he finally began to understand what path it was he wanted to go down. He was given a lot of power and strength that caused the village to hate him, but he wouldn't let it affect him. Jiraiya was right. This power was a gift, and with it, Naruto could use his strength to help anyone who needed it, regardless of if they thanked him or not. And he would start right here, with Konohamaru. As they both sat there and gazed out upon the horizon, Konohamaru spoke. "I'm gonna miss him. Does it get any easier now that he's gone?" Naruto shook his head. "Who said he was gone? He's still with us in spirit. Does it get easier? Yeah. And because I know where Hiruzen is right now, I know he's still with us. He's not dead, he's just moved to a new country, one we can't go to yet. But one day we will, and when we get there, we'll be reunited. Thanks, Naruto." Naruto smiled. "Since he was your grandfather, and I guess he was basically mine, just call me Big Bro." Konohamaru smiled. "Thanks, Big Brother Naruto." And that's where I think I'm gonna call it now. This is a rather dark story, all things considered. Despite Sasuke having made many mistakes in his life, his return to the light made the world a better place. Without him in this world, a lot of things are different, and things will only continue to change from this point on. From here on out, Team 7 has their work cut out for them. But anyway, what do you think? Did you enjoy the story? If so, let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this one drop. And if you can't wait that long, be sure to check out one of these other videos from the channel. They're certified hood classics if you ask me. Anyway, until next time, peace out.